it's Eric, and I wanted to just share a few things with you that I think are really important. I just wanted to review with you. We currently are showing what they call discretionary earnings, meaning the sellers, SDE, sellers discretionary earnings of 4.989, call it $5 million. This is what I'm currently advertising on the association, on the other retail sites, and talking to my buyers and so forth. I don't have a problem with that, even though we eventually down here, we did an adjustment showing for the second owner minus 200. So it came down to, call it $4.8 million. That's fine. I can explain that away. I can explain why one piece of information shows one number and then another. No, not a problem. Here's what I want to cover with you. Businesses are sold. They're generally sold as a multiple of this number, the 4.9, call it 5 million, which is really 4.8, because as I mentioned before, one buyer is going to be buying it. This is the way it's figured anyhow, whether it's true one buyer or not. One buyer coming and one buyer leaving. One buyer buying it, one buyer exiting. So we have to adjust for not only the add backs, to adjust upward to show personal expenses or non-business expenses, to show the true SDE, but we also have to adjust for the second owner leaving, because if two owners are working 60 and 60, hours, 120 man hours, the new guy can't work 120 man hours. So as we talked about before, it's reasonable to think replacing a second owner, a manager, somebody with 30 years experience, 20 years experience, to be a right-hand man for an owner like what's currently, set up. 200,000, maybe it might be less, maybe it might be more. We're just working with a rough number. You know the marketplace for replacement costs better than anybody. So my argument is $4.8 million for $20 million. I'm going to get into the multiple of that in the next clip when I pull up the historic solds. But that's how people are looking at it. They're looking at a return on investment, $5 million, or really 4.8, for $20 million. How long will it take an owner, a new owner, one owner, to earn back their investment, become profitable, or in the case of financing, pay themselves, pay the financing, and then become profitable? We're having some issues with financing. Before we started this whole tax return issue, I asked an SBA partner for some assistance to tell me what kind of a loan on this business with the tax returns, the 19, 20, and 21 that you have. The max that SBA will go on an acquisition loan without real estate is $2 million. And of course, we will use personal collateral as secondary form of UCC lien. We offer fixed term loans for 10 years, which other banks don't do. The rate range right now is about 6.5 to 6.75 and requires a 15% down payment. I truly doubt they will sell their business for $20 million, even though their financials are strong. I hope this helps. As a bank, they can't look at this. They can't look at what a buyer with cash or with the seller's cooperation can look at. So in other words, the valuation that I'm going to show you is going to be based on solds of businesses of this size with this margin in this industry. I know what that multiple is, and I know what the buyer and seller should expect, because that's how the comparables are done, the comparables. I can't tell you what to charge, because then I don't want the seller and the agent to be in conflict. I always want to do what you want me to do. That's what I'm here for. However, the previous buyers and the previous sellers all came to a realization, and I'm going to show you what that realization is so that you have reasonable and realistic managed expectations. That's where I'm trying to get, because I don't believe 20 million is a reasonable number. I don't think it's realistic, and I don't want you to be on the market longer than necessary. The quicker you can hit your buyer, get off the market, put this all behind you, get your check, move on, I think is lowering your exposure, a smarter move, and it's a higher dollar because it's safer. I want to try and get you the best possible buyer that's out there, but the buyers, most buyers, are going to be looking at this, the 291 and the gross, and I need to get the actual P&L to see how that compares. And then we go to 2020, that's not going to get us a $20 million loan. 300,000, I'm not sure what the real gross was, but I'm sure that there was some cash, given what happened in 21. There was over 10%, 15 million, 2 million, what is that, 12, 13%? But there's only 300,000 in profit. This is what the bank is going to look at. Yes, there were some salaries. We can adjust for that. You can have an accountant do that. But does that justify a $20 million asking price? The new owner is going to have replacement cost of a second worker and a loan, whether it's to private money or the SBA. I'm going to suggest SBA is out of the question because I just had Wells Fargo commercial division in writing tell me the max they'll go is $2 million. How are we going to get our sales price? Well, number one, I need to educate my owner as to a reasonable sales price based on the actual most recent 12 months, and I'm going by 2021, adjusted for one owner. But let's just take a look here. We're not going to be able to really use tax returns. The 412, again, Wells Fargo did see this, not having seen this, and they came up with $2 million. That's where we are. And if you look at the top line is short. So that's the problem we're going to have with SBA. That's going to limit our buyer pool significantly. So when we do have a buyer that's interested, that will be paying a reasonable price based on what I'm about to show you, the historic solds of reasonable buyers, reasonable sellers that tried for years trying to get more money or a better deal, whatever. The equilibrium, the average, is where we should be. Maybe a little bit above, but that's where we should be. We'll get so many qualified buyers because they'll be taking us serious. They'll know you're really a serious owner, and I can pick the best one. Now I'm limited to only a cash buyer or a mostly cash buyer or a 50% cash buyer, whatever I'm able to find for you, and at the right price. So we have to address the SBA issue that we're going to have difficulty with this number, and the 20 million is scaring people off that might be the person I'm looking for. All cash is going to scare them off as well. So we should look at the solds in a minute and look at that and see what worked for other owners of businesses of this size in this industry. If I can get you more than that, God bless all of us. If we're in that range, a percentage above, it's, whatever, God bless us. I work for you guys. I do what you tell me to do. If it has to be 20 million, you're going to be on the market a long time. You're going to have exposure. I don't think it's a smart risk. I don't think you're going to get the 20 million. I don't think anybody can get that for you because nobody has ever been able to get that kind of a ratio of sales price versus seller's discretionary earnings. And this is not even the right seller's discretionary earnings. This is the right seller's discretionary earnings if the numbers come back certified and this still is the number that we should be advertising. Enough on this video. I think you understand where I'm coming from. This is not going to help SBA. This is going to get us a buyer. This is going to be turning them away. So we need to get everything in line based on what has worked historically. I'll be back. Thank you.